everybody, and welcome back to Bit About Crypto. I'm David James, the Job Whisperer, and I guess it's 2 o'clock on Sunday.
Indeed.
Pacific time, or 5 p.m. on the East Coast.
Yep.
Or 11 p.m. in Switzerland.
Yeah.
If we got lots of fans in Switzerland.
That's right.
They stay up late on a Sunday night, so they can drag into work because, like you say, I had to catch Bit About Crypto as soon as it dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not. They have 4-day work weeks over there.
Yeah, they got a lot of things over there. We're going to be talking about that in a second. But anyhow, Dave Hampton, RoboRecruiter, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My co-host, how's your week been?
It's been well. It's been going well.
Yeah.
So.
Family good?
Family is good. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so this is a bit about crypto, and we are a podcast, and where you can find us on Spotify and Apple, and if you want to watch, you can look us up on YouTube. And the podcast is about how crypto is changing the job market, right? So what this is a human interest story, where we actually bring on guests and we talk about their lives. And as you guys all know, the format is we bring people from all walks of life, because what's happening is what everybody's having in common is their finding of crypto, or of crypto finding them, right? And there's really only two kinds of people: those that have found crypto and blockchain, and those that will, right?
Yep.
And what David and I do is we actually have a recruiting firm called Blockchain Recruiters. And we specifically specialize in all facets of recruiting as it relates to the blockchain space. So talk about that, David.
Well, let's see here. We're growing quite a bit. Have quite a few clients.
Yeah, and by the way, thank you, podcast. It's been great.
Yeah.
You guys have been great.
Combination of non-technical, technical roles. You know, we've seen that it's a combination of non-technical. It's marketing managers, community managers. You got finance-related roles, and then the technical side, you got blockchain engineers, developers, front end, back end. Probably a lot of similarities from what I think you saw back in 2011 in terms of the mobile app stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you told me like even 7 months ago, right, or whenever it is, like at the beginning of 2021, if you told me, hey, we're going to start aggregating art appraisers and math quants and portfolio managers, right, and catalog managers for the NFTs and all this other kind of stuff. So what we do, what separates us from everybody else, is we aggregate all the people in the space. We find you. We've got resources who find people on LinkedIn and various sites, and we put them in our database, and then we actually pay services where we can attach the email and the phone number. So when somebody says, "Hey, I need a certain person all over the world," we have them. We know where to go quickly, right? And we're 1 degree of separation from everybody in the space, and. So if you're looking for a job in the blockchain space, right, you can actually send your resume to Dave. You can he's taking that. Dave at Blockchain
Dave at blockchainrecruiters.net. Yeah, you can also call me at 858-254-6938.
Somebody's listening in their car. Why don't you actually say that again? Give them time to get a pen.
858-254-6938.
And if you're a blockchain project, you're a crypto NFT project company and you need some people in any capacity, find me. I'm at the BTC Recruiter on Twitter. So anyhow, David, topic, riddle me this. So everything's priced in dollars. Pretty much everything around the world is priced in dollars.
Well, yeah, considering we're the reserve currency, it's...
Right. Everything's priced in, and of course everything's going up inflation, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And costs are going up, supplies going down. So
when you talk to the uninformed, that's just the word I'll use, the uninformed, they'll say the price of everything is going up. And I disagree. I don't think anything's going up.
No, I think it's a combination of demand and supply issues combined with the fact that the value of the dollar is going down.
That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, the prices are not going up. The value of what we actually price everything up is becoming worthless by the day.
Yeah, I mean, what you could purchase for $3 is now $5. That's really what's going on. So because the dollar's worth less,
right?
So, which means that you gotta work more or the same amount of hours for less money,
right? So your wage.
Yeah, so you're being robbed of your time, which in essence is which is robbing you of your
tax,
freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you talk about sound money, right, and as it relates to cryptocurrency, that it's the only thing that I've ever been paid in that I go back and I look at it later and it's worth more than less. That's the simple concept, right? And Marty Bent on the Rabbit Hill Recap, he's talking about how we need to get to a place where everything is priced in Satoshis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when and if that happens, I do know that Bitcoin is the most popular and largest financial network in the history of the planet, bigger than Visa. So there's a certain inevitability about that. So and it's funny because when I literally, and you know this, I said to you, I said, look, we have to shutter all our other recruiting efforts. We got to just do blockchain. Are you in? You said, yeah, I'm in. Right? And kind of like D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers, all for one for all. We just decided, we burned our boat on this one.
But we had a speedy lifeboat to get away kind of thing.
All we had to do was make 2 phone calls. We got our first client.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Yeah. Well, we knew it was there, but we said, hey, we're going to burn our boat. We're pot committed. We did blockchain recruiters, right? And I literally thought that the people were going to find us like exchanges would call. And I literally thought we were going to do all our work in the Bitcoin exchanges or the crypto exchanges, right? Comes to find, I don't want to work with any exchanges, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've learned is that when you those kinds of companies that are already large, kind of large and in charge, or think they're large and in charge, they don't really find a need for us. They already get service quite a bit, so it's really the $50 to $250 million companies that really.
I don't think a dollar figure. I think it's the.
I'm just saying the smaller to medium size versus the larger known entities.
But the 10 to 50 person company, that's where they need us. It's like
or 10 to 50 if you ask me.
Yeah, we've got funding, and also, but we've gotten so many calls from so many different companies. It's like, wow, really? You need us to find you art appraisers and catalog managers. Right? Portfolio managers, things of this nature, auctioneers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? That I would actually need to find an online auctioneer.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are far and few between right now.
I know, but I just was like, I just never knew when I opened this door. And the irony is the guests that we're actually going to speak to today, actually, they're educators first, right? They're a married couple, right? And the wife, she comes up through education, and the husband, he comes up through innovation and technology. And I'm really looking forward to get to know them, and see let them share about what their offering is and how they see the future doing. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of getting bored talking to us. Let's talk to them. What do you say?
I agree.
All right. So please welcome, no further ado, Johanna and Rich. And I just wanted to say both, and it's Maaghul, right? Is that
yes, Maaghul.
Okay.
Maaghul.
So they got a lot of superfluous letters in their names. Like Johanna has 2 N's.
They got an extra A.
Right,
so it's Mag, like you put in a gun, but
Maaghul
it's
spelled
2 A's.
Maaghul. He's got 2 A's for emphasis, right? Just if you don't know there was.
That's what I just said. So it's Mag. Yeah.
Magnum.
Yeah, I'd like to do it big.
Yeah. Come higher, don't come at all, right? So anyhow, welcome and thank you for staying up late.
Yeah.
And it's late there in Switzerland, and so where do you want to start? So which one of you interesting people? So first off, you guys have been together a long time, right?
Oh yeah, we've been a team and a husband and wife for about 30 years.
Okay, so let's hear about who pursued who. Let's just start right there, right? It's like, so who saw who, and who says, okay, I'll come to CrossFit if you bring the coffee, or however that works. How did that happen with you guys?
Yeah, I think I was the pursuer, and she definitely shut me down the first night.
Yes.
And I had to pursue her again and again, and then she finally said, okay, I'll go on a date with you. So from there on, we moved pretty quick. and got married about 7 months after we met, and then became lifetime partners and business partners, and we have a lot of fun together.
Well, it's just so you know, I asked my wife out like 20 times, and we went from drop dead to I can't live without you. No, true story. True story. True story. She says drop dead, so you're saying there's a chance. Right? Anyhow, all right. So Johanna, so where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Maine, and grew up in Maine. Cold up there, and then we met in Boston, and took a whole bunch of time off right after we got married, which kind of skewed our perspective, and thought, well, we'll just move to Maine because we'd spent the whole summer there, and then we went back for the winter and decided that was the best. So we ended up going to visit Rich's parents in Hawaii, and then back to California for a little mini vacation in February. By March, we'd packed up the car, sold everything we had, and we were living in California. So we do move fast.
Okay, so basically,
I call that being decisive.
So Johanna, like when you were like in your formative years, like up through 12th grade, what did you do? Did you do sports? Were you a brainiac?
I was always I was a math person since I was a little tiny, kid, and so I had kind of pockets of math and then art and then math, and so when I was in my early 20s, I was working actually in the tech space with a PC magazine, PC computing.
Yep.
And I think we might have flipped the Rich out of the education space a bit more and me out of the techie space.
Oh, did I say it backwards? Sorry.
Yeah. So I was working at PC Magazine, PC Computing back in the early 90s when, all the startups.
They still had paper and magazines.
Was back then,
from trees.
Yeah, it was interesting times. I mean, and so I became sort of an accidental programmer at the time for the company, and I kind of fell in love with this particular type of programming and started doing that, and then basically fast forward about 7 years, when Rich and I were married, moved to California, and he started kind of working with me in that space. And we did a big project for Chevron where we built a knowledge management system for them that we had the opportunity to license to them for about, 8 or 9 years. And so that was our first round. And it was, for me, just a real quick story is I stayed in tech for a while, but I did some other stuff, but started to get burned out from the programming in the early 2000s. And then, so 2013, when, I took a consulting project for somebody building a new startup on the Ripple blockchain platform. And he explained to me how blockchain works, how we're going to create something that competes with the SWIFT network at the banks, and how we don't really need the banks anymore. And when I grokked all of that, I was like, wow. And my kind of interest in technology was revived because I saw this pathway of possibility now that was going to create equity and, a whole new opportunity for people, considering 60% of the people on the planet probably are unbanked, have no access to banking. And this could change a lot of things, and it has. And then I will let kind of Rich talk a little bit about his story, because then it gets to how did we connect that with education?
Well, hold on a second. And I appreciate you co-hosting, right? So, but anyhow, you better watch out. Yeah, job security for you, Hampton, right? Yeah.
I mean, be careful what you wish for, Johanna.
She's pretty, and I can brand her, right? So anyhow, I don't have to keep her behind the mic like you.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
So, Rich, so where? Let's talk about your formative years. Like, where were you born? And junior high school. Were you like a bare knuckle boxer, or you bow hunter? What were you?
Well, I was born in New Jersey, and my folks moved 8 of us to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, And I grew up in pretty much of a blue collar, community. It was tough times as coal mines and the steel mills were shutting down.
Right.
And so it was really competitive out there. That's kind of where I thought my entrepreneurship birth happened. Is cutting grass, shoveling snow, little odd jobs here and there. And growing up in Pittsburgh, people worked hard during the week, and sports was a big thing. So I played a lot of sports. Friday night lights, it bleeds right into college football, and then everybody knows about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it was that kind of rock'em sock'em kind of life. It's about how do you make money and how do you grow up in Pittsburgh. So
how did you get to Youngstown State though? How did that happen?
Yeah, I had a football scholarship. I played under Coach Narduzzi, and he recruited me, and I went there and played a couple of years of football.
Were you a tight end or a linebacker?
I was a linebacker.
Okay, I'm just looking at the shoulders, right? I was just looking at the shoulders. I said, So anyhow, did you bring the pain?
Yes, I'm feeling it now. I'm feeling it.
No. You're feeling it now, but back then you brought the pain, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never in my life I've never taken a snap, but if I lack the athletic ability, that's why. But if I could, I'd want to be the linebacker. That would give me
that was a badge of honor.
Yeah.
You can deliver the pain.
Yeah.
That was kind of the next notch up in a blue collar town.
Okay, so you're at Youngstown State, and I also know you went to West Virginia and Wesleyan College as well, right? So what are you? Where is your life going, and what are you thinking you're going to be as far as at 20 or 22 or that part of your life?
Yeah, so when I finished sports, I decided to transfer down to West Virginia Wesleyan, and then what I was thinking is I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't want to go to college, and I want to go out and start something. So I dropped out of college, and then just trying to figure out what's my next move, and that's where I really got introduced to technology. And I was.
No, don't talk about that. When you say you're introduced to technology, what's that aha moment where, hey, I'm riding this train?
Well, it's a whole communication piece of the the internet highway, right? I mean, I was blown away even with just CompuServe, typing in and be able to communicate.
That was so cool. It was so cool.
I was like, whoa! And then AOL came out and they made it colorful. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, this is something that I can really jump on, and then I kind of fell into this whole, because initially in the internet, it was like booking travel or communicating, or it was just a whole new beginning, and I found my kind of pathway into travel, like booking airline tickets. So that was kind of my first startup, is owning an own online travel company. And I was able to do it right out of my house. That was just the biggest, whoa, this is great. I can actually make money doing this. And so that was kind of okay, that was big. And then Johanna and I moved to Silicon Valley, and we're like, oh my God, everybody's all about building new technology. And we just kind of jumped on the surfboard and really, rode the wave, and we learned a lot. And being an entrepreneur, you make some, you hit some big bumps, but you learn from them. And then, but when you're on the upswing, we did very well, and we actually were, creating value and making money. So that was big for us.
Okay, so I guess you guys were together when you found it. So how did crypto find you as a collective?
Yeah, so I mean, like Johanna says, she kind of got at the beginning with Ripple, started out, and but I started this after 2008, 2009, where the market crashed, and I became kind of like a C-level investor. And I found this one really interesting organization. They were doing overseas education. They were teaching young students all about entrepreneurship. So I helped, get the company up and running and funded, and I decided to get involved in it. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I decided to take over the company. And as the past CEO stepped down, and the major issue is how do you scale in education by keeping the cost of education down to allow more people. So during my research, I decided that the biggest problem is, especially in international education, there's way too many layers, way too many middlemen in every deal. And we're bringing, loads of people from China.
For our audience, talk about because even as I sit and Dave and I both have natural curiosity. This is of interest to me. So talk about because what I'm talking about, the thing I'm seeing in every guest I talk to is a form of disruption, right? Uber disrupted taxis, right? Amazon disrupted retail. And I wasn't even aware of all these layers of rent seekers. So can you talk about what somebody has to go through?
Right. So in international schools or even executives who want to travel to another country, like say the U.S., for short-term education programs, they would actually have to go through tour operators that deal with education, domestic receptives, domestic operators, and then to us, the company that's putting together these education programs with the universities like Harvard, MIT. We did a lot of kind of the high brand Ivy League type schools. So any transaction could be between 3 and 5 different people taking a cut of the cost of education. So by time a program could cost $1,000, and by the time the student comes, they're paying $7,000. So that meant that mostly the upper middle class, the higher end of society can actually afford it. And as more and more competitors got into the middle of the business, everybody was pushing the cost of the education down, where companies like us were having a hard time actually making a profit. So when the CEO stepped down, I had to go in and figure out what's the problem. And the problem is way too many people got their hands in the pot. So how do you remove all those layers? Because these middlemen are kind of the trust. They create the trust within their countries. So people go there and know that if they're going to do business, it's better to go with a local organization before they go abroad for education. So removing that needed to, if you're going to remove that barrier, then you're going to need to gain the trust, and that's where blockchain came in.
Okay.
Johanna was working with an advisory group out of Hamburg, Germany at the time, and she talked to me about the smart contracts and how there are a set of terms and conditions. Nothing is paid or moves forward until each of these conditions are met. And everything was transparent. So anybody can see kind of the flow of the money and making sure that, everybody commits. The teachers commit, the schools commit, the students commit. So that was really, really important for us to be able to remove that middle layer where we can disrupt that kind of industry. So Johanna also came to me and said, hey, we could do an ICO. And I said, well, how much equity are they going to take from that? And she's like, well, there's no equity. And I'm like, whoa. I'm going to be able to raise money, and there's no equity taken from its company. And I was really skeptical. I was like, what's this all about? So, and then we were very successful in raising money. We have a good community of holders, token holders. And at that point, we started building the company. And we've learned a lot. I think the toughest thing for us was be able to explain blockchain, going through the regulatory environment in Switzerland. That was very complicated. And then really trying to, really push out our product to the world.
I'm sorry, I missed the part. How did you guys get to Switzerland? Like, how'd you go from California to Switzerland? Is it through the company?
They took a plane.
Thanks, Captain Literal. Okay, I mean, I'm not a blockhead.
That is how you get there. I'm just saying.
Well, that's not that. Yeah, that's,
I got you, Johanna and Rich. I got you.
Listen,
yeah,
pipe down.
No, we definitely took the plane.
You see, even he said it
again. Captain Obvious, Lieutenant Obvious.
The group that was advising us during our ICO recommended that we go to Switzerland. At that point, the SEC was didn't really have their act together, or they didn't really have anything.
Yeah, they didn't have any guidance or plans to.
There was no guidance, no rules. They were shutting down.
It's not surprising. It's the American government, so yeah.
Yeah. So we decided to go to Switzerland because of all the governments. It was between Switzerland and then Singapore. But Singapore didn't have any guidance either. Switzerland did. They were at the beginning. Even though everything was rapidly changing, we felt that Switzerland was the best place. And actually, even today, they're very thorough. They have strict guidelines. And we were able to, go through the whole entire process, and it seems to be, working quite a bit.
So my question: so you guys both work together in tandem as a team, specifically for accelerators, correct? That's
not for accelerators. No, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Once.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you came as for removing these layers with I misspoke. You're working for accelerators as removing the layers for education, right? And then Johanna comes to you and says, "Hey, we could do an ICO, an initial coin offering, right?" And you ask, "Hey, how much equity they're going to take?" Nothing. It's like the coins are like zero coupon bonds until people provide worth to them, right? So that's these are things I'm trying to explain to my audience. I want them to listen and get nuance. So then you all of a sudden you do this whole Odom thing. So what's the pivot of what you were doing? And when Johanna brings you the idea of we could actually form a token offering on the blockchain, right? Then you said, okay, we're not going to do accelerators anymore. We're going to do Odom, right? And you guys have been that for over 4 years. So talk about the genesis of that. It's like, hey, we can do this, and what you guys built and where you are now, and however you guys want to share the mic.
Well, I'll definitely I'll probably let Johanna do it because she was really kind of managing that kind of entire architect of what we created from the front end all the way through the back end, and the whole way that crypto works for us on the blockchain.
Yeah. And so, I'll just add, like, while Rich was doing accelerators, we built this other company together. We then did different stuff for a little while. I also work as a literary agent. So part of what happened is when I went to Germany, I had a literary client there who was writing a blockchain book, and he introduced me to this team of advisors out of Hamburg I just immediately had an affinity with them, and I started helping them with their website and building their company. And they were like, wow, you've got a lot of skills you could help us with, and so forth. But I was watching accelerators and helping where I could, like with financial spreadsheets and so forth. And I was just like, wow. I mean, but to Rich's point, the layers of the supply chain for bringing a student or an executive from China to Stanford for a 3-week education program were crazy. So the blockchain/crypto opportunity there was that, one of the things they say about blockchain and supply chain is that if you implement blockchain with supply chain, you're going to discover the middlemen that are necessary and the middlemen that are not.
Yeah, with emphasis on not. With emphasis on not. Sorry, I had
exactly.
Hold on. We're middlemen.
Okay, well, I'm
but there
excited.
will, right?
Oh no, we're very essential. Stop that.
Yes, you guys are part of that supply chain that are essential, and that's a really good point.
Correct.
Because David, we've had this discussion about the importance of vetting candidates for jobs, and especially today where soft skills have become, it's great if you've got the tech skills, hands down, you're coming out of college or whatever, or you're 23 and you built some great cool tool for some new company. But if you can't communicate, if you can't write, if you can't interface with people, we need to know that, right? So I think the whole thing with accelerators it wasn't that accelerators went away. It was that Odom was a complement, and accelerators became actually a great use case and client of Odom, because now we could say, okay, you've got this group coming from China. How can we, number one, better assess their needs? So not only blockchain, I want to just talk for a minute about machine learning, AI and skill matching, because the other problem Rich didn't really go into detail with accelerators was that if you've got 6 different entities in a supply chain and 2 different languages, by the time that customer in China says, I want a course on the gamification of finance, and I want to have it at MIT, by the time that gets communicated down the chain to the MIT, sourcer, the person who's sourcing the course from MIT, it's lost in translation. They may end up with a completely different course. So that was the other thing that Odom was solving is okay, you need education and you're specifically looking to gain these skills or learn this thing. Let's make sure we make that happen correctly. So that was the other thing we did. And we had the opportunity, in the beginning, we were actually invited to come speak at the EU. And we were connected with a group at the EU that was in the middle of implementing a brand new data framework for the entire continent. And what it did is it allowed people, say you're a nurse in Denmark and you want to become a nurse in Germany. How do we know the skills you're going to need in each country? And let's match them into this giant data set so that can happen seamlessly. So Odom took that EU data set, it's called ESCO, stands for European Skills, Competencies, and Occupations. And we brought that into our system as the starting point for our machine learning. So we could say, okay, let's take a person, they build a profile, they say, here's my current skills, but here's my dream job. How do I get there? And what can you guys serve me up education-wise to help me get there?
Fascinating. And so as far as your pilgrimage through either infancy, adolescence to maturity, where is Odom?
I think Odom is 12.
Months or years?
Years. I think we're right. I think we are still at an early stage in the sense that we are mature in our ability to think clearly, articulate clearly, know what we want to do, are doing it. But we still, I think our ultimate grown-up maturity is going to come when we are embraced more holistically by the market. And I know that just, go ahead.
I think there was I have to tell you, this pandemic has kind of really paralyzed a lot of people, especially in the education industry.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
So that's kind of slowed up our pace. One of the things, because this, the sales cycle or working with the universities has been probably, stretched out another 12 months. one of the things that we've done was start shifting to some working with corporations with their internal training and then their problems with recruiting and retaining their employees. So we think, it's starting next quarter, we'll start seeing more growth with Odom, especially around the innovations around the credentialing, around experiential learning. So that means that if you're working, you're earning a college credit, and then be able to connect and understand, the university curriculum to other online education organizations like, Coursera, Udemy, even Odom. So if you're coming to Odom and you're taking these courses in blockchain, now they can be matched to university credits. So these are kind of the innovations that we're working on today.
So I want to go a little bit more micro. So you guys spend a lot of time with each other, and there are a lot of things that you just intuitively know, right? I want. So let's talk about, because what I'm hearing is different from the person in Asia who wanted to take a course in Stanford in Palo Alto, cost $1,000, but after all the rent-seeking middlemen, now it's $7,000. So there's a problem, right? You guys go from that to the solution where now you've got a nurse who actually is in Denmark, and she's certified in surgical room and hemophilia or whatever it is, and now she wants to work in Germany. The blockchain, there's a certification that's put on a blockchain where somebody knows that that's an immutable thing, that this person really matches up to that thing. So I want to talk about like how you see this use case going out. Give me the Reader's Digest version. Walk me through it, if some way, either of you.
Well, first I want to preface this. Our biggest thing was really getting more people around the world access to education and employment, and to be able to do that, you're talking about giving people who are not prepared to do online education. You're seeing that through the pandemic. You hear it all the time. How do you engage these students? How do you engage these students who are not prepared and into an online kind of platform? And Coursera is dealing with completion rates of like 10, 20%. How do you give value? And for us, it's like it's giving access to education and jobs. And what you guys do, David, is that job piece, which is really important. But you really need to understand who that student is, who's that professional is. Understanding that, do they really have those skills? And like Johanna says, that what we've created was a common language that can be used globally, so people understand what a skill really is in one country to the other. But we go a step ahead and we verify these skills. And then once we're able to do that, our machine learning actually connects them with their right educator, the right institution.
Or the right job. Or the right job. Right.
So that's really, really important. But you can't do that without really fully understanding who that person is. That's what blockchain does. One is that you can verify them. You can put them on the blockchain, store their records on the blockchain, and give access to those job recruiters, employers to view. And then using the machine learning is really to match them up with blockchain recruiters, because they have these blockchain jobs. And blockchain recruiter really understands that these students or these professionals have this workforce experience.
And there's only one blockchain recruiters, and that's us, blockchainrecruiters.net.
Right.
All right?
That's right.
That's .net.
If I can
Piping
go down.
And I love the fact that you guys are so focused on blockchain, because we need more blockchain, developers, not just developers, but anybody who has that, knowledge on how, blockchain works and the value it's driving. More and more that we build out that community, the longer, blockchain will stay. And we all know it's more than just crypto, trading.
Yeah, I want to divert for just a second before you go in, Johanna. I prefer the audience, right? And when we're talking about blockchain and we're talking about verifiability, David and I were having a conversation with a random person. We were talking about vaccinations. Vaccinations very controversial in the United States, right, and probably the world, right. But now there are events where you actually can't go. So my wife and I tonight for her birthday, I'm taking her to see Gwen Stefani, right, at the Planet Hollywood, right, and you can't get out, you can't get in there unless you've proven you're vaccinated. Right, or you have like a COVID test, and the person says, "Yeah, well, I've got the card, but I didn't get the shot." I said, "Well, that's going to end badly. It's going to end badly because you hear about people who fly to Hawaii and they forge the card, and no, this person knows a person who actually got them in the system somehow." And I was just thinking to myself, this vaccination thing is kind of important. No matter what side you're on, it's kind of important. And if you can actually manipulate your way into that, right, then that's a point of failure that's going to be catastrophic.
Right. Well, so we have a term for that in the tech world.
All right.
We call that garbage in, garbage out. And all that means is that, and it's the same with the blockchain. And we can go, and I want to just follow the thread back to your original question about what does, let's go micro with this credentialing thing.
Okay.
There are 4 key things that we, Odom, will credential. And starting with the basic one, which is your high school or your college diploma. So we were the company working with the first university in Canada, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, to put 4 years running now, graduating students on the blockchain through Odom. So that meant that in the first year of the pandemic in 2020, they actually did a whole virtual convocation on Odom, like live. It was very cool. So that's the basic thing. We take your diploma and we put it on the blockchain, and you as the student actually initiate that process. So we invite you to come do that. You click a button that says, I want my blockchain degree or diploma. You create it in a completely decentralized model where only you can access it. And then you have the option to share it with employers and keep a copy, a local copy, et cetera. So that's the first layer. The second layer would be, and again, so like if you have, there's less room for garbage in that model because the verification key, which, if for people who don't understand blockchain, there's a private key and a public key, and a transaction gets signed and you can see that public key, and that public key belongs to somebody. And in this case, there are 3 signature public keys on your diploma from SAIT, for example. One of those keys is for the school. One of those keys is to the registrar. And one of those keys is to the, let's say, the president. So you could potentially just put those blockchain keys on your website as a university, and then somebody could see, okay, that's a hard thing to forge at that point, right?
Right, yeah.
So that's the most traditional layer. And then I'm going to just skip ahead because in the middle of that, you can say, okay, I have a work certificate. In Switzerland, for example, you are granted the right to get any of your employers to give you a work certificate. So we could put that on the blockchain. But then fast forward to the world you and David are in, where you guys have to find people, as we've talked about, who maybe didn't even go to college. Maybe they're 20 years old and they're just an amazing blockchain programmer whiz. How do we verify? And they're in Ukraine. How do we verify their skills, right? So we can actually, on Odom, we can verify what we call a work artifact. So you've got like a deep well on GitHub of work you've done, or you built the whole like app for some really cool, DeFi company. We can now have that verified by the CEO or whoever, and we can now put you as a skilled person on the system, like so that a recruiter in a whole other part of the world or an employer in another part of the world can verify your skills. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is.
yeah,
I'm just sitting here. I just didn't know we were going to go there. I'm because this is.
We've been thinking about this.
For 32 years as a professional recruiter, I've been thinking about this, right? And now all of a sudden, this is happening. This is happening. So tell us about the flying saucer. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's like, but it's really.
You have to have the piloting flying saucer skills on the platform to get.
No. I can fly a flying saucer. I need somebody else with the technology. Head. No, I can fly one. I can prove it as soon as you.
Listen, here's a great segue. Drone pilot. Think about that for a moment. 5 years ago, who would have thought there is even a drone pilot? Right now, it's a skill. Like people are hiring.
It's correct.
Drone pilot.
Air Force trains them.
And by the way, if you have any type of arson conviction, you're not allowed to be cleared by the FAA as a drone pilot. So there's another use case. There's another use case, right?
Is this? You could go to criminal records for this stuff too, right?
And you know what? Okay, criminal records. This isn't it. I'm just going to jump on this topic because I think one of the things I feel passionate about is the blockchain should only reflect things that are positive and that you feel comfortable putting out to the world permanently.
No, that's a good point.
I don't think the blockchain. I'm not a fan of using the blockchain to penalize people to out them with.
I wasn't insinuating that. I'm just saying,
Johanna.
No, but it's an interesting.
Johanna. You're not proud of your criminal record. I mean, I don't understand. I understand that's how you get.
I'm busy getting it expunged.
That's how you get street. That's how you get street cred in the United States, right? That's like, I burnt that. No, I'm kidding. No, and you're out.
Street cred is immutable too, right?
Yeah, David, I think that's a really interesting point you brought up, the whole vaccination, and there is a lot of fraud out there going on with those fake cards. But
but it's in the system. It's not just the card. No. It's electronic, like in the system. Yeah. Like the person showed me. They showed me on Clear. They're in Clear. Yeah. Right?
That's amazing.
And so
that's the problem. There's no checks and balances. So there's no there's not multiple keys approving it. That's happening and this right is now. Why, it's just that one person is probably in the office.
I mean, unless they were. I mean, we were in line waiting. It was just line waiting to get seated at the restaurant, and I was just waiting, and we were talking about it, and it's just like this random person says, "Yeah, you don't," because the conversation came up. Hey, I got to get in. I got to prove this. All I have is the card that I have. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And they said, no.
And so I think a thing to remember, and I don't want to get political on this call, but I will say this. Remember that cryptocurrency is a very different thing than digital currency.
Got it.
And digital currency is use of the blockchain for centralized advantage. So I think of the things, some of the things you're discussing as possibly
centralized
in that. And while yes, there might be fraud going on, and we could look at all that, but ultimately there is a centralized source that's using or not using that data for now to your advantage, but later not maybe to your advantage. That's personal stuff that's now being, is being expected for you to share in ways that never before have happened.
But if you want to I'm sorry, but if you want to take this to like Minority Report. Like you just reverse engineer a mind where you're arrested for future crimes. Think about this for a second, right? When they actually take the actual vaccinations, right? When they get those up and they put that on the blockchain, and you've been rocking a vaccination status for 10 years or whatever it is, now like the little spiders that open your eyes come to get you, all right? You're gonna go see the magistrate in the sky. I mean, I'm taking it Skynet a little bit, but. Yeah, I mean this whole thing is going to come back to center, right? there is going to be a universal truth as far as blockchain is concerned. So this is great. So how can people find you, and what type of people do you want to find you?
Well, I think the people we want to have find us are people who are looking for ways to improve their life, that have felt they haven't up until now had those channels or tools or opportunities. And what I mean by that is, I think one of the things we realized as we started in education is that what's the end game for education? It's livelihood. and it's a job or a career that has meaning, that you can feed your family, that you can like have some stability and some, security over time. So, and I think all of us on this call, have first world problems. There's layers and layers of people out there in the world who would just dream of, being able to be a blockchain engineer and getting paid for it. And we have a Telegram channel. We hear from people all over the world, in places like Nigeria or Iran.
Hold on a second. Hold on. What is your Telegram channel? Spell it out. Tell people so they can find you.
Yeah, it's actually, I think you guys put the website. The best thing is go to the bottom of the website. Yeah, and you can get to us on Twitter and Telegram. Just click right from the links on the bottom there.
So for everybody who's on Apple and Spotify, listening, not watching, it's www.odem.io, like Dwight Odom, right? Odom.
Yeah, but he spelled it ODOM.
No, yeah, shh, don't say anything about
it's
Dwight.
Not Dwight. It's Lamar.
No, I know a Dwight Odom. Anyhow, but I confused.
Totally made him up. You were thinking of Larry Odom. You're Lamar Odom, the basketball player.
Yeah, you're on thin ice as a co-host. I just want you to know.
You just fell through the thin ice.
Go ahead.
So the easy way to remember it is it's an acronym, and it stands for On Demand Education Marketplace.
ODEM.io. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
speaking of marketplace, are you guys in the market of adding to your team?
Yes, for sure. And you can actually go to our website, and you can go to odem.io/jobs, I believe, and you can find our jobs that are open there. So
fantastic.
Also, just one more thing. So it's obviously we want to give everybody access to education and workforce placement. I think it's really great working, with recruiters like blockchain recruiters. I think that's really, there's a lot of jobs out there for people. There's a lot of training to get them compliant to those jobs. But one of the things that I think we're wanting to see is more teachers to come onto our platform.
More teachers, got it.
We talked to a university yesterday. They told us that there's a 20% decline in teachers just in the United States. And they're also seeing a 30% decline on teachers enrolling or students enrolling into teacher programs. So there's a big need for teachers.
Yeah.
And if you want to be your teacher, if you have an expertise, you work 30 years or 20, 30 years in cloud computing, come and teach people. You don't have to be, a licensed teacher. You just have to have the knowledge and the will to teach other people. So, and
that's interesting. That's an interesting thing because I became a teacher not having the quote unquote certification, right? I had the English background. I had a degree in English, I had a degree in psychology, and they said, we'll teach you how to teach. And the interesting thing about the decline, I wasn't aware of it. I'm not surprised by it per se, but for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think teachers get paid enough. And two, and two, here's the irony about teaching programs. And this is just me from my experience. So take it for what it's worth. I didn't learn how to teach in the certification program. Like having it or not having that certification didn't make me the teacher. I had to be in the classroom actually doing it for me to learn how to teach, because it's not, you can get a certification in teaching and you can still not be a good teacher, right? So there's and a lot of things that they were trying to have us do, they weren't. There was one professor who actually did it. They went towards this student-centered teaching versus teacher-centered. So like the difference between lecturing, the old school lecturing, here's the knowledge I'm imparting on you, versus the students do the project, they learn what the lesson is, and they teach each other, and which I looked at your guys' website. One of the quotes you guys had on your Instagram, actually, you teach, you learn twice as much when you teach, right? Or the stat I always was you retain 95% of the information that you teach, right? Which is really what's. I mean, that's the whole idea behind learning.
And for what it's worth, the best recruiters I've ever trained were all teachers, including David and some other people. Ironically, I want to share something. I'm going to share some 30 years of awareness. Right, the way recruiting works, right? Whether you are a recruiter or you're recruiting for yourself, or you got a yoga studio and you need somebody, right, just to run the front desk. Recruiting and this is universal. The way the world used to work was that, say, let's just take construction, or let's just take accounting. Some one of those things. Somebody calls on the telephone and says, "Hey, are you interested in this position?" They'll either say yes, no, or I'm not the right person. Right? Who do you know? Well, the people that do that type of work, I walk by them, and the person that's got a name, I don't know him, it's Bill Smith. Now the person has a lead to Bill Smith because you're 1 or 2 degrees of separation from people who see people doing the thing that you, as a recruiter or hiring authority, need to see. Right? Boom, COVID, March 2020. Right? Everybody goes home. Right? At the same time, everybody's home, this new blockchain thing is coming up. I mean, really, the proliferation of blockchain employment in it is really it got its burst like exponentially with COVID. Now the situation is you talk to somebody who actually does the programming. Well, I'm looking for someone that does compliance. They go, well, we think they're in Hungary. We never talk to them. We never see them, right? So what makes this the amount of need so strong is everybody is finite. Right? It's fine. And they're siloed. Everybody's siloed. So people are no longer in 100 people in an office in a wage cage looking, that's IT, that's accounts payable, that's logistics, that's ordering.
And they can't verify or vouch for them.
But even that out of the side. So the reason is, I mean, I know that the necessity is the mother of all invention. So that's when I said to David, we need to start aggravating people now. So he says, well, we have no clients. I said, I've got a driver, and that's a start. I mean, it's like, I don't care. You're going to be my driver, and I'll figure out I'm going to get the car later. And that's why we started doing it. And it's like, you want to talk about Kevin Costner plowing his field? He'll tell you. I said, yeah, you got to come willing, you come drag. He says, I'm coming willing, right? And so, but we continue that aggregation of people, right? And that's what's going to make us the first to market in the sphere. And
so true.
So anyhow, that's and I want everything on the blockchain until it puts me at a disadvantage. Then I don't, right? Like elections, right? If people wanted fair elections, they'd go right to blockchain. But people don't want fair elections because it messes with the agenda. Johanna and Rich, thank you so much for spending the time, right? Staying up late.
David, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right.
So, hey, Travis, thank you very much for just another week.
Of course.
You're always here faithful. You turn the lights on, you turn them off. Dave Hampton, RoboRecruiter, my co-host. Thank you so much.
Eternally grateful.
I'm David James, the Job Whisperer. And remember, everybody, get whispered.